morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, we need to be taking a look at a new kind of Mewtwo and Mew deck that is doing exceedingly well over in Japan. It is Mewtwo and Mew played with fairies. And we do actually have a couple of different lists. And, I mean, look, we know that Japan plays in a slightly different format, but you're not losing anything you really need here. Okay, they tend to play like one Gardevoir GX, but it really neither makes nor breaks the deck. So it's not a big deal. This is a deck that you can absolutely go ahead and start making and playing pretty much immediately. Now, we don't need to spend much time on Mewtwo and Mew. We all understand at this stage Mewtwo and Mew, what they are and what they do. You can use the attacks of any GX Pokemon on your bench or in your discard pile, and that's basically the nature of the deck. Cool, sounds like a plan. Why Fairy? And there are two reasons why Fairy. Reason number one, there's a bunch of really good Fairy Pokemon around at the moment. Reason number two, Mina. You see, one of the things that's made Mewtwo and Mew so gosh darn good is that it's been using Welder. So what you've essentially been doing is using Welder as your engine to get energy on, and that's been restricting you to essentially colourless Pokemon, fire Pokemon, and then you've often seen like one or two psychic energy so that you can play stuff like Latios GX or Espeon and Deoxys GX. Well, here, what we're doing is we're going pretty much entirely Fairy. And first of all, we've got Mina, but we've also got the possibility here of Gardevoir and Sylveon. Now, Gardevoir and Sylveon has got a lovely attack for one colourless energy that lets you search your deck for two Fairy energy and attach them to your bench Pokemon in any way that you like. It's very nice indeed. And between that and Mina just attaches a Fairy energy to one of your Pokemon. What you have is a way to get a whole bunch of extra energy out, which is what Mewtwo and Mew is really relying on. Now, as for the main attack on Gardevoir and Sylveon, 150 isn't great, but we do like being able to move all of our energy around as we like. And 200 damage for free energy really isn't great. But if you get 6 energy on, your opponent shuffles a hand into their deck. That, however, we like very, very much indeed. But we've got a whole bunch of other Fairy Pokemon that we can have a little bit of a play with. Now, I do have a couple different deck lists here that I can show you, and we will go through all of them in a moment. But just to look generally at Pokemon that might come in either of the decks, we've got Xerneas GX. And Xerneas GX sees a little bit of play here. It's often a one-of in Gardevoir and Sylveon decks. And for one colourless energy, 20 to the active, 20 to one of your opponent's bench. For free energy, 120. Or for free energy, move all damage counters from each of your Pokemon to your opponent's active Pokemon. Now, bearing in mind you're going to be playing Tag Switch and Mina here, you really can get this going as a surprise attack, completely heal while taking out a big Pokemon. That sounds pretty gosh darn good to me. We also see Mimikyu GX popping up a little bit here, and Mimikyu GX comes in, well, the first attack, Confusion, not particularly strong. Let's Snuggle and Fall, 10 damage plus 30 more for each damage counter on the active. This is really nice for finishing off. So you hit for like 120, 150, and then come in and smash. Now, the GX attack, one Fairy energy, choose one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. They shuffle that and all cards attached to it into their deck. I'll be honest with you, it's not stunning. It's not one we're terribly in love with here. It's not flat out garbage, but it's not the best option we've got here. We can also play this with a little bit of the Baby Trio. That's right. Baby Trio is coming back, ladies and gentlemen, and we like the Baby Trio. Now, this is the one that's got the ridiculous GX attack, whereby if you've got 16 energy on, you get to take an extra turn while shuffling all of your opponent's bench Pokemon back into their deck. It's not realistic, and honestly, we don't really play enough energy to get it rolling properly here. But then again, free energy 120, flip 2, you get tails 30 more for each heads. Flip enough heads, and that can be very, very nice indeed. And of course, while we're playing fairy Pokemon, we really should be playing a copy of Xerneas Prism Star. Xerneas Prism Star, great Pokemon here, whereby, well, when you move it into the active, you can just move all your energy over and then do 160, which is really good as a surprise attack and really strong as a single prize attacker. I've been saying since it came out that it should be a one-of in fairy decks, and apparently in this particular fairy deck, it might well be. Now, there are a whole bunch of other non-fairy options you can go for. We see things played like the second Solgaleo GX, 2 energy, and you get to do 120 and attach 2 energy from your discard to one of your Pokemon. That's pretty gosh darn strong. Dragonite GX, the second one that does 270 for 5 energy. That's pretty gosh darn good. That's something that people are playing around with. Obviously, Mega Lopunny and Jigglypuff. I mean, look, it does 60 damage for free energy, plus it then does 60 more for each of your opponent's EX and GX Pokemon in play. It's pretty ridiculous. It sees a huge amount of play over in Japan, and will do when it comes out over here as well. And it's not a fairy Pokemon, but both the lists I've got to show you here actually play Altaria GX. And Altaria GX is kind of a bit nuts, and it's not particularly good, and it hasn't particularly seen a huge amount of play. It made the shortlist of my top 10 worst Pokemon GXs recently. But actually, Altaria's really good in this particular deck. Because for 1 fairy, 1 colourless energy, you get to do 50 damage, and then during your opponent's next turn, prevent all damage done to this Pokemon by attacks from EX and GX Pokemon. It's like how the Psychic-y versions of Mewtwo play Latios GX, except here, it's for 1 less energy, coloured and a colourless rather than a coloured double colourless, and it blocks all GXs, not just tag teams. And again, between Tag Switch and Mina, you are really not going to struggle getting the energy on here, really at all. Now, one of the deck lists did actually even play the Greninja GX from Detective Pikachu, which for 2 energy it does 130, going through any effects on the defending Pokemon. It's quite nice if you're against something like an Alolan Ninetales that's trying to block you. It's alright. Let's put it that way. It's alright. It's worth a little bit of a test. And you'll see a couple of other Pokemon in the deck list here. The only one that appears in both decks is Gardevoir, and even then, Gardevoir really is not central to the success of this deck. One of the lists literally plays 1 copy of it, and I really don't think you can be particularly upset at losing a one-off. Yeah, it's a little sad, but no. As we get into energy, again, one of the decks plays double colourless energy, but the other one doesn't. And you've got Gardevoir and Sylveon, and you've got Mina, so you're not that worried about energy acceleration here. One of the decks plays Weakness Guard energy to take away your weakness, one of them doesn't. I mean, look, you can always play Jirachi if you're terribly worried about your psychic weakness at least, but Weakness Guard energy will protect you against stuff like a Rogue Lucario and Melmetal if you're focusing on Gardevoir and Sylveon. Remember, you can just play this as a Gardevoir and Sylveon deck if you would prefer. And similarly, in terms of trainers, there's really not very much that you're losing here. You lose Ace Roller and Max Potion, but one of the lists plays neither Ace Roller nor Max Potion. And put simply, yeah, both of these lists do have a couple of cards that Japan has that we don't. But there's no card that comes in both of these lists that we're losing, which is a huge irreplaceable loss. So we're looking pretty good. Now, in terms of cards we do want to be thinking about playing, I mean, Tag Team Pokemon can come in quite big here. One of the lists really relies on tag team Pokemon, so you've got your Cynthia and Caitlyn to get your supporters back, really nice incidentally for recovering Mina, while drawing free cards as you go. That's quite good. If you're relying on special energy, then obviously Guzma and Hala is a pretty good option here. Lets you search for a stadium card, and then if you discard a couple cards from your hand, you can also search for a Pokemon tool and a special energy. So if you're playing a more special energy focused deck, yes, that would be pretty nice. Healing is very good in a deck like this. Mallow and Lana has proven to be really good at healing. You switch to the bench, and if you discard 2 cards from your hand, you also heal yourself 20 damage. Wait, 120 damage. And then you've got stuff like Hapu, which makes its way into both decks. Really nice, aggressive draw supporter. Look at the top 6 cards of your deck, put 2 in your hand, discard the others. Also, of course, you're playing Mewtwo and Mew. It's a really nice way to get your evolution Pokemon into the discard so that you can copy them with Mewtwo and Mew. You've got Cherish Ball here, which is great for searching out your Pokemon. You've got Tag Call here, which is great for searching out your tag teams, including your supporters. Viridian Forest is a really good option here. Guarantees that you've got a little bit of energy. You don't want to miss an attachment. And both lists did incidentally choose this as their stadium of choice. And what we see here is just a really good new way of playing Mewtwo and Mew. Here is the first deck list, and you can see that there's a Marshadow in there, but you don't particularly need that. It's not in the other deck. And this list really is working on a lot of one-offs, just giving itself as many options as it can, and you'll note the 2 water energy there allowing it to play Greninja. If we have a look at the other list here, we can see it's actually quite different. Same kind of theme, but quite a different deck. Probably most notable here is the special energy. But the point is, if you look at either of these lists and go, oh, that's a really key card, no, it's not played in the other. And my hope here is that by showing you 2 different deck lists, instead of looking at it and going, well, Japan's playing a very slightly different format, as some people do, people will instead look at this and go, oh, it's a new archetype. Here's an example of how it could be built. Let's go and have a play and make me own deck. Because make no mistake about it, this could be a really quite phenomenally wonderful deck. But I'd like to know what you think about it, so let me know in the comments section. Go nuts! Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassyPlays, where we talk about a whole bunch of games that don't even have any Pokemon in. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.